Well, gather round, 'cause I'm only gonna tell this once. My story begins far away from the place that will be my ending, on an island that none know the name of, far to the west. Packed around amidst the chunky rocks on the beach, well, there were my brothers and sisters, right alongside. I was always the oldest by a few minutes, so I naturally took a leader position here, yep. Made sure to wait for all them to get into the freezing water and onto our new life. One by one, they all got in the wicked sea, getting used to being thrashed around in the icy waters. Some of them eggs didn't make it, of course, but that's just life, ain't it? I remember the plunge well, looking around to see, but met only by the cold and dark riptides that sucked us all the way out there. We was traveling for a while, using that bladder way back in the shell to keep afloat. Hours passed, but our destination became clear. One of them islands nearby had some form of cobbled construction, peeking like a tower out from the greenery surrounding. We paddled ashore, the currents dashing some of us against the rocks, never to be seen again. Those of us that made it, well, we found ourselves a ride home, an old mining encampment, abandoned by the dead that lay frozen in the snow. Could have been a while, could have been weeks, but they had succumbed to the freezing environment all themselves. We decided it's safe, took up residence. We learned the local greenery as well as the wildlife, and, well, we lived pretty well for some years. All still youngin', but growing ever closer to the husky form of my elderly times. One day, when we was through with about 12 cycles of kratzen, still youngins, a great big floating piece of wood made its way just over to the island. It looked small at first, but it was a trick of the sea. As it approached the island, it became quite large indeed. You could always imagine how crazy we was thinking this was. Big old piece of wood was all it was to us then. A smaller piece of wood then lowered itself off the side by some creatures upon it. We was scared out our shells, readying all them spears and whatnot. We went down to the beach where this smaller piece of wood with little creatures on it was coming towards. I remember the smell that came from that boat when we climbed out from the rocks. Poor fools looked like they'd seen the right devil. Now, the poor fool in charge was stained with fecal matter for the rest of his visit. We didn't like him very much. They came looking for something in the mines. But it was hard for us to understand one another, what we're speaking such a different language. After a few days of coming to know one another, well, we figured what they was trying to tell us was that the rocks inside the mountain mines was what they was looking for. In trade for what we had lying around, the damn fool gave us over seeds and equipment that we wasn't quite sure what to do with. They ended up showing us how to use them. Well, we learned how to use them pickaxes and black powder real good, yes sir. After they departed, what they traded over brought our sort of way of life into something comfortable. Well, you know, we learned the ways of mining real quick. Spent most of my first century underneath the ground, chiseling away at them crystals and shiny rocks. Once a cycle, though, the ship would come. Eventually, we was getting so good, they came with only things to give over, leaving the whole ship open to our shiny rocks. Our lives slowly got more comfortable, too. What with the hides and the fancy hand tools. We learned the language of the individual who came for our rocks, and the island became home. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some of my brothers and sisters could still be found there. I remember the feeling of growing bored with the life around me, life under the ground. It was slow at first, Yeah, one day, when the merchant man came by, I had a little talk with him. Asked about the world, what it had to offer. I won't ever forget what he said to me. You know what he said? I can never tell you the wonders of the world, but I can show you to a path of discovery. You are dependent, and you are strong. Sail with me, and the world is yours to explore. That was a lie. The man operated a good scope of trade, but spent most of his time running back and forth but 20 miles. Still, as young and anywhere but here sounded exciting. It was at first. Loading up the ships, unloading the ship, learning the jibs, learning to tell folk what to do, all that. Rose up very quickly in but 116 days to the state of first mate. And boy, was it tantalizing to experience such a new culture. Caught many funny stares, but utilized my form to get my way with things. Went back a couple years to that island I once called home to tell my brothers and sisters about my travels, but a year later, I was excited to share with them new opportunities. Well, they didn't take too kindly to my leaving. Toxic family value and all that. I was shunned. They said naught to me, but traded with the captain and sent us on their way. I decided right then and there that I was never going to return, ever again. No, sir. We got back to Port Zlosa, and I told my captain what's what. I was bored with his small understanding of what the world had to offer. He mostly understood, but still, that was mostly the last time I spoke to him. I was stuck there in Zlosa for years as a dockhand, in fact, utilizing my younger self's vitality and strength to full effect, and meeting many folk. I hungered for a venture out on the open sea. The channels were safe, sure, but I'd heard tell of ships that would sail out far to the south for rare sea creatures to bring back and sell off. I waited, oh so patient, for their arrival back from the last expedition, anxiously studying my conversational skills, for such an occasion. I saved my earnings and bought the most beautiful glaive, kept it stashed in my room at all times. From the same smith, I learned how to forge and learned I was damn good at it. Learned how to put them shiny rocks to use. Yes, sir. We was working with enchanters and the like, making what they like to call vessels. I spent a good 15 years under his guidance, but eventually I grew bored of that too. But then they came back. I'd mostly given up, but, well, damn. Reason being, they'd been through hell and back. And well, damn. Captain Coppermaw was dead, slain by a great kraken in self-sacrifice to allow their escape. They had with them not meat, not food, not anything of the sea, really. They brought back artifacts, in fact. A whole slew of pretty baubles were related to a cult of kraken worshippers. Go figure. They had raided an active temple, seeming to be part of, well disliked by this cult, I suppose, best way of saying it. Strangest part, and perhaps the best part, was that they brought back a map. Long lost was that map, to a collection of some wealthy jarl someplace. But well, it spoke of a land of the southeast. It spoke of villages and culture that existed there. And the strangest thing, it was written in orcish runes. Still good, because I couldn't read but I could read the pictures. Well, we were starting to become good friends after some weeks of drinking and speaking, me and the crew. I was eventually invited into their creed. All that was missing at this point was a captain, but I was hired as a mere sailor and creedsman. We raided round for a few years, in fact, working the docks and running off of what had been made in artifacts, waiting for our next captain to show his face.